20 years. More than 20 years. So Maharaj is also minister for ISKCON Ashram ministry in India. So we are very happy to have Maharaj here. Just to welcome him by loudly saying, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please come little forward.
Closer. Not come forward. Okay, find a house that has a big clock. Most of the time, there's either no clock or a very small one. So this is so every Saturday there's program? Friday. Today is Saturday.
Because we have Harinam yesterday.
Okay. Oh, because once a month there's Harinam.
Yes.
So that day. Okay. Yes.
Call is Radha Madhav Bhakti Riksha.
Radha Madhav
Bhakti
Bhakti Riksha. Very nice. Okay. So normally your program goes till what time? Now we have no excuse for missing the time.
9:30.
9:30. Of course, tomorrow is Sunday, right?
Yes.
Still. Yeah. Mridanga players should be close by, and also Kartan. Yep. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jai Suranandana Pragadana Rangana Yashodanandana Pragadana Rangana Jai Suranandana Pragadana Rangana Yashodanandana Pragadana Rangana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pari Bhakti Sutra Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Sirabhai Charanarvinda Bhakti Vinata Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON DVT Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Primsikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shamakunda, Radhakunda, Giri Govardhana Ki Sri Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Sri Dwarka Dhama Ki Sri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Sri Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Sri Mayapur Chandraday Mandir Ki Ganga Mai Jumanmai Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Harinama Sankirtan Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Shri Sri Gauritai Ki Jai Shri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai Shri Krishna Balarama Ki Jai Shri Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Sri Radhamadava Ki Jai Shri Sri Radhamadara Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Ramayam Yadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tvam Sajivam Savadaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Kalparubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Yarevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'd like to request everyone to kindly fold your hands and repeat after me 2 short mantras we will recite together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. The second mantra, you have to listen very carefully. And since our process is Shravanam, nice hearing, then there will be nice Kirtanam reciting. Om Shri Surabhyai Namaha.
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 Mukham karoti vachanam pangum langayate girim yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we are very happy to be here. Oh, it's already there? Okay.
What's still?
This is one thing. Okay. There was something a little earlier for the fallen souls, for all of us. What was it?
Translation.
Oh. For the fallen souls. We chose something from a book that is actually very important within our tradition, Vaishnava tradition. And it's a book that, how many have read the book, Sri Ishopanishad? Okay, everyone's going half-hand. Put your hand up. Okay, yeah. So about half, maybe half. Like other literatures, the subject matter, especially here, is dealing with an aspect of dharma, which sometimes not sufficiently understood. Dharma is actually the main focus for all of us as devotees. Lord Krishna, He descends in this material world actually to teach us, to re-establish actually the principles of dharma. And dharma is not so easy actually to understand. Even great personalities like Bhishmadev sometimes concludes that dharma is such a deep subject matter that it presents certain complexities. So, because we are belonging to the movement of Lord Chaitanya, and the movement of Lord Chaitanya began 500 years ago, is actually meant to, as we all know, bring about the Yuga Dharma for the sage of Kali, which is based, of course, on the chanting of the holy name. The essence of Dharma, especially in Kali Yuga, and the proper method and process is based on the chanting of the holy name. But because we cannot chant the holy name all day long, as Haridas Thakur and such personalities can, we also have many other activities. And one important area has to do with cultivation of knowledge. Which of course touches on the subject matter of education, which nowadays is actually a major topic a major area of concern, we could say as well, education. And I'm sure it's of concern especially to those who have children, the parents, naturally. As parents, as Krishna conscious parents, we would like to give the best education to our children. So in many ways, the Sri Ishopanishad deals with this topic of education, and it happens to be, actually it should be a topic of interest to all of us. Some of us take it maybe as a more of a topic of interest. So we will, since it's on the board, very nice arrangement here, because sometimes we don't have enough books. Anyways, you can either follow in the book or on the screen. We will read the verse, and then the purport. Actually, it's a very, as in many purports, Srila Prabhupada, in his role as acharya and teacher, makes some very strong and powerful points, and we need to hear strong statements at times from such personalities to help us more clearly understand and to help us become awakened to this dimension of life. Actually, within our ISKCON society, different devotees, we could say, specialize in different areas. It's natural, just like in ordinary life, some people are in the medical line, some people are in the technical line, so many different professions and occupations are there. So the same thing within ISKCON, and somehow or other, I have been, we could say, attracted especially to the whole area of, we could call it social arrangement, social setup within society, and things that have to do with our different, we could say, daily responsibilities. And the topic of education, this is something I would say very fundamental. The topic of education is intimately connected with another topic called occupation. Nowadays, because most of our leaders around the world are not really not actually understanding education, and therefore also not understanding about occupation. Let's go to the verse, and as we read the purport, we'll hear from Srila Prabhupada different points he's making, and we'll try to comment, and we'll leave some time for some discussion also. Prabhupada, many times, I'm sure you've heard, he explained that our Krishna consciousness movement is meant to be not just a religion or a religious movement. It's meant to be an educational movement. An educational movement and also a cultural movement. If we really understand about education, and we can only understand about education, oops, my voice is wrong. If we really understand about education or about dharma, then we will have a more clear understanding of this topic of education. So everyone can just follow and repeat after me. Anyad Evahu Vidyaya Nyad Ahur Avidyaya Iti Shushruma Dhiranam Ye Na nas tad vichachakshire anya devahur vidyaya nyadahur avidyaya iti shusrumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. You kind of repeat after me. Anyat, different. Eva, certainly. Ahuhu, said. Vidyaya, by culture of knowledge. Anyat, different. Ahuhu, said. Avidyaya, by culture of nations. Iti, thus. Shushruma, I heard. Dhiranam, from the sober. Ye, who. Naha, to us. Tat, that. Vichachakshire, explain. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. Kind of repeat after me. The wise have explained. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. Purport. As advised in chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, 13 verse 8 to 12, one should culture knowledge in the following way. Number one should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. 2, one should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. 3, one should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by his thoughts, or his mind, or by his words. Wasn't planned like that.
Now we're coming the nations.
Bad mom.
Fortunately, our process is hearing, so you can close your eyes and just hear. Number 4, one should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. Forbearance means connected with toleration and forgiveness. Number 5, one should learn to avoid duplicity and the dealing with others. Number 6, one should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization, and one must submit himself to such a spiritual master, render him service, and ask relevant questions. So as we're reading these, I'm sure, because we have read other books, especially Bhagavad Gita, actually all of our learning is meant to begin with the Bhagavad Gita. And many of these same points that are being made here, just like this verse here is connected with the verse that describes the three basic qualities for a student. Bhagavad Gita is giving us the 9 qualities of a teacher, the 3 qualities of a student. The whole topic of education, actually we have one PowerPoint on this especially, and this will be of interest. Is anyone here a teacher by chance, like in school, or everyone is teacher at home, of course, but yeah. So there are 5 basic principles to the topic of education. I mean, we'll continue the purport here, but I think this is important. And it can be summarized in the 5 following points. Number 1, what is the definition of knowledge or definition of education? Definition. Number 2, what is the disposition? Actually, they're easy to remember because they all start with a D. The 5 Ds of knowledge. Definition, disposition. Disposition means what is the mentality of one who is teaching and one who is a student receiving knowledge. So, number 1, definition, disposition. Number 3, delivery of knowledge. How and where knowledge is ideally meant to be given. Number 4, the design of curriculum. From where, what sources do we get knowledge? What kind of knowledge and from where especially? And 5, the destination, which means the goal. What is the goal? Ultimate goal. So, and actually the definition we've heard already here, definition of knowledge is also found in Bhagavad Gita 7.2. That particular verse, 7.2, defines knowledge as understanding what is matter and what is spirit. The origin of both matter and spirit and their relationship between them as well. That is simple definition of knowledge. And if we look at, let's say, modern day society or modern day education in particular, that understanding is not there. We teach only about matter, isn't it? And even we don't teach properly about matter. We'll come back to that later on. So that is covering definition. Then disposition. So I was mentioning how both the teacher and the student naturally need to be qualified. So in the Bhagavad Gita, that very nice verse, which Prabhupada is quoting here actually, Tad vidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam darshina tattva-darshan. One will be able to get vision, understanding of what is tattva, what is truth. Truth means ultimately knowledge. By these 3 things that are mentioned in this verse. So the mentality of a student is that pranipat, he must be humble. Pranipat means actually means submissive, being submissive. Understanding that I don't know everything. Yeah. Pranipat means just like someone who has some disease. So he knows that he cannot cure himself, so he goes to see a doctor, isn't it? So in a similar way, we must begin to understand that there's so many things we don't know, so we need a teacher, isn't it? Yeah. So that is the first of the three qualities for a student. And then prashna, one must be inquisitive, and then one must render service, isn't it? That is the proper disposition of a student. And the teacher must likewise be qualified by possessing the 9 qualities of a brahmana, isn't it? Namo tamas. That person in the 18th chapter, 1840, what is it, 43 of Bhagavad Gita. So that covers the disposition, both teacher and student must therefore be qualified. Then it will be good learning, good exchange. And then the delivery of knowledge. Our Vedic culture is very clear on this point, which is very important as well. How knowledge is meant to be imparted, it should be given in a proper setting. Actually, traditionally, as we know, there is Gurukul system where one lives in a boarding school, where one receives knowledge, lives actually with the teacher, and in this way receives knowledge on a daily basis. And usually these were away from very congested places, like in cities. Actually, cities are not at all the ideal place for education. Most of our universities are in the big cities, and all the students are totally distracted in so many different ways, isn't it? Actually, today something interesting happened in that some people came to plant trees in our yard, and what was their project is what? City?
Forest.
City of forest.
Our city forest.
Our city forest, yeah. The idea is that they're recognizing the importance of planting trees. So traditionally, sadhus, brahmanas, they would actually be, many of them would be living in the forest, and therefore we find a nice expression, forest university. Universities before were in the forest, not downtown New York or downtown whatever, which is, full of commotion, pollution, not at all conducive for study. The atmosphere should be quiet, peaceful, and then, so that has to do with the way knowledge is meant to be given, delivery of knowledge. And then design, that's something very important, which is, actually if we analyze all of the 5 aspects of knowledge, they're totally missing in modern day education, isn't it? So number 4 is the design of education, of curriculum. Knowledge should be taken primarily from our Shastra, from our Acharyas, from Vedic literatures, because Vedic knowledge contains both material and spiritual knowledge that will meet all of our material and spiritual needs or necessities. And then of course finally, the 5th one has to do with what is the destination or the goal. And again, that's missing in modern day society. The goal is self-realization. Real purpose of cultivation of knowledge is to come to understand, especially our original nature, which is of course our spiritual identity and what is our real goal and purpose of life. You see? So in this way we are very far from the standard that is there in our Shastra in modern day education, and that is why we have so many problems actually the whole area of education in modern day society. So we'll continue here. As we go along, because we're covering different kinds of, as we go along, if anyone has any question, you can raise your hand and instead of waiting till the end. So we are continuing here, which I believe number 7. In order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles and join in the revealed scriptures. This touches on something important that we find in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. See, whatever we read in one book, we'll find it in another book. Like supportive, just like in the court. One lawyer will quote, and things kind of support one another. So, this point here, in the 7th canto, chapter 11, Narada Muni speaks about the 4 initial basic principles that we should be following, which are connected with the 4 qualities of Satyam, Daya, Tapasocham. Isn't it? Truthfulness, compassion, austerity, and cleanliness. These are the 4 qualities that one develops when we follow the 4 rules and regulations, isn't it? Before one gets initiated, one follows these 4 rules and regulations. That enables one actually to come to the mode of goodness and therefore make further progress. Number 8, one must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures. This is also very fundamental and underlined by Srila Bhakti Thakur in his small book called Dasamula Tattva. Everything that we can know and understand is found in Shastra, in the revealed scriptures, especially Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Number 9, one should completely refrain from practices which are detrimental to the interest of self-realization. Number 10, one should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body. Number 11, one should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body to be his own. And of course, this is the main theme and topic in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We naturally identify with our family members. He's my father, she's my mother, he's my brother, sister, etc., etc. In the Bhagavatam it explains, I'm sure you have all read about it, how living entities come together as like pieces of wood floating on the river. They come together for some time and then they will be separated. So we have so many times we are born, and every time we're born naturally we're born from a mother and father. But we've had so many mothers, so many fathers as well, so many brothers and so many sisters. These are all very temporary, very temporary in the context of eternity. Relationships that we have, and they don't have anything to do with our natural, eternal relationships with Krishna. And then 12, one should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. We understand this as devotees as being the 4 main problems of life. So when we begin to understand this, then our life becomes more simple. Because most people, if we ask them to give a list of their problems, they have a very long list. Especially nowadays, the problems of life have increased in so many ways. But for a devotee knows that actually the four main problems of life are these four problems. Janmam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. And therefore our concentration is to work at resolving these four basic problems of life. And we are less concerned, we should be less concerned about all the other problems. Then Prabhupada continues, there is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. If we look at the lives of our acharyas, the Goswamis in Vrindavan, for example, and many other such great personalities, they were very less to the point of being not at all concerned with their bodily necessities. At least they would minimize and be focused primarily on their spiritual well-being, or spiritual realization. Number 13, one should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. 14, one should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures ordain. And yes.
What is ordain?
Good question. Ordain means it comes from the word, it's connected with the word order. You know the word order? Okay. So it means whatever the teachings are there, whatever is taught in the revealed scripture, whatever is ordained or taught or ordered, then we should follow that.
Yes, my second holy order on fire.
Got it right, Okay.
Close.
Modern technology. Just want to make sure Swami is speaking the right thing. Okay. Ordain. And then, now this is a very difficult one. One should not be happy or distressed over desirable and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. That is actually the story of everyone every day. Whenever something bad happens, we feel sad, distressed. And when something so-called nice happens, we feel happy. It's not that devotees are, without feelings, but their feelings are in connection with their ultimate, goal in life, and they are not overly distressed and not overly, overjoyed by material situations. They are, the nice word that was used earlier, dhira. Dhira means sober-minded. And number 16, just 3 more here. One should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and serve Him with rapt attention.
What does unalloyed mean?
When Srila Prabhupada went to America, this is connected with your question. Srila Prabhupada, when he went to America, he, at some point in the early days, he was walking somewhere, you might have read this somewhere, and he saw on a billboard a big sign, and the sign said, unalloyed steel. Unalloyed steel. And then Prabhupada used that same word in the context of devotional service. Now I will explain what that means. Steel, you know what steel is?
Yeah, it's like for that.
Glass.
Yeah, this is called stainless steel. Supposed to be stainless steel. Steel, yeah. So steel, if steel is pure, it's not mixed. There's alloyed and unalloyed. Alloyed means actually original, pure. And alloyed means the opposite actually. Unalloyed. Unalloyed devotions, it means completely pure. Completely pure. Just like pure, original, unmixed. Yeah. Yeah. Unalloyed. Yeah, I suppose these are words we don't teach in grade 3 or 2. And then 2 more. One should develop a liking for residence in a secluded place with a calm and quiet atmosphere, favorable for spiritual culture. And one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. He had his hand up first.
What is congested?
Congested. Who has a dictionary here? Congested. Congested means where there's many people, many things. Like the room now is full of people, right? Guests. So the room we can say is congested. If you stand up, you're going to have a hard time walking around. So it is recommended that one should not live as all of us are living in congested cities, for example. So it is easier to practice spiritual life when one is living. That's why our Vedic culture, this is a very important point actually, our Vedic culture is teaching us to live in a more natural atmosphere of a village. Village life traditionally is the norm and the standard for the majority of people. You see, people like Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj was living where? Huh? Oh, well, okay, Vrindavan. It was not a trick question I was asking. He was living in Vrindavan. Okay, so but only once a year. Where would he go once a year?
Mathura.
Mathura. Why?
To pay taxes.
To pay taxes, yeah. But he didn't stay long in Mathura. Why? Because Mathura is congested. Yes. We got some attentive students here.
I have another question.
It's okay.
What does congregate mean?
Congregate. Congregate. We are now. We have now congregated. It comes from. It's connected with the word congregational chanting in a group. Yeah, you had it right. To congregate means to come together. So our process, Krishna conscious process, is to congregate with devotees and not to congregate with non-devotees. Yeah. Means to associate, to congregate, to come in a group. Okay, and the last one, which is 18. One should become a scientist. Oh, that's very interesting. We are told you should all become scientists. One should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge. recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. This is very important. It means a devotee automatically who is serious about practicing Krishna, he will become a scientist automatically by cultivating this knowledge. Devotee actually is the greatest scientist. Is the greatest scientist because his knowledge is based on the greatest of all sciences, which is the science of spirituality, isn't it? Even there are material sciences also, which are taught in our Shastra. Both material knowledge and spiritual knowledge, as we mentioned earlier. And that's why our curriculum, what we teach to our children, what we teach to our congregations, should be mainly, primarily from our books of knowledge. We call books of knowledge. So, then Prabhupada explains here that these 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which real knowledge can be developed. It means that from these 18 points we could make up a curriculum and we could be teaching and in this way cultivating knowledge. Except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nescience. What is nescience? I beat you.
What is nescience? I think nescience means...
No speculating. I think. Nescience? Okay. You think you know it?
I'm just guessing.
Guessing. We shouldn't guess, actually. Not good to guess. Nescience is the opposite of knowledge. We can say that nescience is like no science. Not based on science. Nescience. Yeah, it's a little tricky word, actually. So Prabhupada here is telling that these 18 instructions, 18 guidelines given here, they will help us to actually cultivate knowledge. And outside of those, we will be cultivating, another word for nescience is ignorance. You understand ignorance? Yeah, that's easier than nescience. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusory energy, and that by culturing them, one becomes no better than an ass. Actually, we should know that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he studied a lot of material things. He's speaking here from experience. When we simply cultivate material, so-called material knowledge, then we become more and more ignorant of the real goal and purpose of life. So then Prabhupada continues, this same principle is found here in Sri Ishopanishad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians in spiritual guise decry the present system of civilization as satanic. Two hands, come up here. Yes. Satanic. Who knows the definition of satanic?
Demoniac.
Yeah. In Christianity, there is one person that is referred to as Satan. Yeah.
Very evil.
In the Bhagavad Gita, let's stick with the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are two kinds of persons spoken about. There's actually only two kinds of people in the world. Sura and Asura. What is Asura?
Demon.
Demon. That is satanic. Yeah. Demon. Yeah, demon, or we say demoniac. That is, when we are not devotees, we have different, coverings of demoniac mentality. Not means impure actually, also.
What does decry mean?
To decry. Where is that now?
Decry. Just about
Decry the present system.
Yeah. Some materialistic politicians and spiritual guys decry the present system of civilization as satanic.
Decry.
Who can say decry?
Criticize.
Huh?
Criticize. Correct.
what is this? Top side. See? Top side.
Denounce.
Challenge.
Challenge. Public
Denounce.
And what's the definition of denounce?
Condemn. Condemn.
What is the definition of
Condemn,
Well,
criticize.
I can only ask 1 or 2 minutes.
We are done as kids. Your questions are. If you keep it in your parking lot, we'll ask it later.
parking outside. So we need to get outside.
Okay, let's continue here a little bit.
We'll explain. Someone will explain it outside.
But unfortunately, they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus, they cannot change the satanic or demonic situation. In the modern society, even a boy thinks himself self-sufficient and pays no respect to elderly men. Of course, we know in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 6 persons, let's put it this way, there's 6 living entities that require special care and attention, isn't it? One of them is?
Old men.
Old men, yeah. People who are aged. Another one?
Old men.
Huh? Babies. Women, yeah, women is another one. Cows, yes. Then the brahmanas are spiritually minded persons. Children, we mentioned. The disease, those who are ill or diseased. It specifically mentions that these require special attention. But we find that in Kali Yuga, these are the personalities or the living entities that generally receive the least of attention. They are most neglected. Yeah. That's why the Kali Yuga. It is one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Those living entities who are meant to be the most protected, they are the most neglected. Isn't it? So here it mentions about elderly men and women also. Due to the wrong type of education being imparted in our universities, boys all over the world are given their elders headaches. Have you ever noticed? Because here there are younger persons and older persons. I'm not making this up properly, just telling here. This is connected with culture. Culture means knowing how to interact, how to deal with others. It means actually respecting others. Not only human beings, but also animals. Culture. Thus, Sri Ishopanishad very strongly warns that the culture of nations is different from that of knowledge. The universities are, so to speak, centers of nations, only. Consequently, scientists are busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. University students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate student life, nor do they have any faith in any scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name and fame only, and not for the sake of practical action. Thus there is animosity, not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well. So Prabhupada is explaining in different ways how, due to cultivation of nations, due to not understanding what is knowledge, due to not having a proper system of education, we are creating what is also referred to as a society of Varna Sankara, where there is no distinction, where there is no proper dealing between individuals and society. And therefore we have a very chaotic, which is totally different from what our Vedic culture is teaching us. Vedic culture, the living entities we mentioned, they're all protected, respected, and one is dealing properly with other living entities. It creates a very congenial. Congenial means a good atmosphere for living and for especially practicing spiritual life. And then another point that Prabhupada explains here about nationalism. Nationalism has developed in different parts of the world due to the cultivation of nations by the general people. No one considers that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter floating in immeasurable space along with many other lumps. In comparison to the vastness of space, these material lumps are like dust particles in the air. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves, they are perfectly equipped with all necessities for floating in space. The drivers of our spaceships may be very proud of their achievements, but they do not consider the supreme driver of these greater, more gigantic spaceships called planets. Actually, every planet is like a spaceship. Who is running this spaceship? Invisibly it is floating. It is by gravity. You're reading too many scientific books. We were talking about this point. Do you know how the planets, so many planets, no? At night time, when we look in the sky, in the clear sky, maybe not here in San Jose, when you go in the country. In the country you can see the clear sky. So many planets are floating and they're not bumping into each other. Why they're not bumping into each other?
Because the sun is orbiting around the sun.
How is it orbiting?
It's orbiting around the sun because in the sun there's just some gravity. And then the gravity is like making the earth and the other planets come toward it.
You have been influenced by modern education. What's your explanation?
So the sun has a gravitational pull.
I'll tell you the reason. And this, you don't know. I know. Krishna's mercy. Of course, Krishna's mercy is everywhere. But you know why the planets are floating and not colliding with one another? The reason is given in the Bhagavatam. And because they're not teaching you the Bhagavatam at school, they don't know. And you don't know. Yeah. So the reason why the planets are all floating very nicely is because the planets are controlled by ropes of air. And you know what is called chandelier?
Yes.
What's a chandelier?
It's like there's a big glass, like there's so many glass.
Yeah, it's a big lamp. Well, more than a lamp. It's a big, chandelier.
It's
Many,
very
many lights.
fancy lamp.
Fancy, Something fancy, very bright. So chandelier, Prabhupada explains that we'll be able to see that when we go to Mayapur, when the temple of Vedic planetarium will be finished. Yeah. Because there will be one big chandelier. So the universe is held just like a chandelier. Druvaloka. Where's Druvaloka?
Druvaloka is like next
Poles.
where
where is Druvaloka?
It's up there.
it's
Towards the end of the material world.
Yeah, well, Druvaloka is
Pole star.
it's in the it's called a pole star. Pole star.
that was next. I thought there's a living place of Colonel Big
Yeah, that is called what is it? Shweta-dweep. Shweta-dweep. So the idea is that actually all the planets are being controlled from there because the pole star is fixed. Just like a chandelier is holding the rest of all of the lights, and so this is Krishna's, intelligence. We cannot fathom. We cannot fathom. So it means that because we are not studying from our Shastra, our Vedic books, so we're not teaching this. We're not learning this at school. And that's why it's so important. This we should try to remember this point, especially those who are parents, that we must, of course, as much as possible in our home. That's one thing, but our long-term goal should actually be to introduce this Vedic system. Why? Our Vedic systems means for those who take up what is called formal education. There's three kinds of education: formal education, non-formal education, and informal education. Formal education is actually limited for those generally who become brahmanas, because formal education is many years, and it requires that one very deeply go into the subject matter. So formal education, there are standard books of knowledge for formal education. They are referred to as the 14 books of knowledge that one learns in Gurukula. How many of these subject matters are taught at school or college or university? None of them, actually. So one of the long-term goals and objectives actually that is there within our movement that Prabhupada desired as well. Just like, that in Mayapur we want to establish a university. Now we have what is called Mayapur Institute for higher education, and there are different educational systems, but our goal is to actually have complete university, but that will be should be based on our books of knowledge and taught naturally by brahmanas, persons who are very well versed, who have learned these books, the standard books of knowledge. One last paragraph we can read here. Let me see here. I'm going to 73. I'm skipping maybe a little bit here. Beginning with Sri Ishopanishad. Sri Ishopanishad warns us. This is, let me see. There are 3 more paragraphs after this one. Sri Ishopanishad warns us of this faulty type of education, and the Bhagavad Gita gives instructions as to the development of real knowledge. This mantra states that the instructions of Vidya, knowledge, must be acquired from a dhira. Dhira. Brahmanas are dhira, sober-minded persons. Sober-minded persons means who know that so-called happiness and distress in the material world comes and goes, isn't it? We should not be overly concerned about this coming and going of happiness and distress. One of the first instructions that Krishna gives, actually, in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. As a matter of fact, so Adhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized, at which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. That is the level of Brahmabhuta. Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasauchati kanchati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhakti madhati parama. So it means that only when one is at that level, he can nicely, properly practice bhakti, devotion service. Adhira realizes that the material body and mind he has acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements, and therefore he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain. This body, this material world, is a bad bargain. You have to make the best use of it. The material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. Living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world, but this material world is dead. As long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lumps of matter, the dead world appears to be a living world. Actually, it is the living souls, the part and parcels of the Supreme Living Being, who move the world. The Dhiras have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities, and have realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles. To follow the regulative principles, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. The transcendental message and regulative principles come down from the spiritual master to the disciple. Such knowledge does not come in the hazardous way of nascent education or modern education. One can become adhira only by submissively hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna, for example, became adhira by submissively hearing from Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Thus, the perfect disciple must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord himself. This is a process of learning Vidya from the Dhira, the undisturbed. And the last paragraph, Anadira, one who has not undergone the training of the Dhira, cannot be an instructive leader. Modern politicians who pose themselves as Dhiras are actually adhiras, and one cannot expect perfect knowledge from them. They are simply busy seeing to their own remuneration in dollars and cents. How then can they lead the mass of people to the right path of self-realization? Thus, one must hear submissively from a dhira in order to attain real education. Very important instructions. As we mentioned earlier, our Krishna consciousness movement, which is based, if we analyze, we have so many dhiras. You know, we have so many, all of our acharyas are in that category. They're self-realized souls. We have the greatest scholars, the greatest pundits, and going back hundreds and thousands of years. And therefore it is from those personalities that we should be hearing and that we should be molding. That we should be molding our educational system, and that we should be molding our children, isn't it? So the whole world nowadays, because it is very much lacking this understanding, this knowledge, because those, as very clearly stated by Srila Prabhupada, in terms of two levels especially that are misleading, the level of you could say politicians, different leaders in different countries of the world are devoid of this knowledge, number one. And secondly, there's a spiritual vacuum as well. How many people are actually understanding about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So there's a vacuum, an absence of these two levels of leadership. The spiritual leadership means of brahmanas, and then material leadership of leaders within society. Of course, in our Vedic culture, those who are kshatriyas, they are meant to be qualified both materially and spiritually, isn't it? They are rajarshi. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. Rajarsi, Raja and Rishi simultaneously. So Srila Prabhupada, he instructed many years ago to people here in America that Americans should create a culture of brahmanas and also a culture of kshatriyas. You see. So this is in different ways what we are endeavoring to do within our International Society for Krishna Consciousness. This year, as we all know, is a very special year, being our Golden Jubilee. So we only have 2 months left before the end of the year, isn't it? Before the Golden Jubilee comes to an end. So it should be a period of, I would say, meditation. We should evaluate what has taken place within our society in the last 50 years. What things have we been able to accomplish, and then what things have we not yet been able to accomplish. A number of things we, by Krishna's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, we've continued to open temples, to distribute books. Of course, we should be distributing more books than we have or than we are. Actually, I'd like to share something which is connected with, because the more we understand what is our own purpose in life, and simultaneously how this is connected with Krishna's mission, which can only be understood by personalities like Prabhupada. So therefore, what is ISKCON's mission? And how do we fit in ISKCON's mission? This is something very important. So very often people means even devotees, don't realize that Prabhupada spoke of 4 divisions, of 4, he called them movements. The Krishna consciousness movement is divided into 4 sub-movements. And I often ask this question: how many of you have heard about the small book called Gita Nagari? Where did you hear that?
The small book.
Small book, yes. Yeah, I'm talking about a book, not the farm. Okay.
Festival called.
So, no one has heard about Gita Nagari? Book? Okay. A few,
Nice.
just a few. So, in that small, Srila Prabhupada, it's an essay actually, that Prabhupada wrote in the 50s. It appeared in Back to Godhead magazine, 1956. Those of you who have the folio, Prabhupada folio, you can find it there. So in that essay, Prabhupada explains about 4 movements. Even before before coming to the West, we are in the West right now. Prabhupada already understood clearly what he was going to do. Because in many ways Prabhupada was Trikalagya. What is Trikalagya?
One who knows past, present, and future.
Trikalagya. Kala, time. Gya, Jnanam, knowledge. Three. Understanding about 3 levels of knowledge, or 3 phases of knowledge. Understanding the past, understanding the present, and understanding the future. Yeah, very good. There's only 3 that I know of. Right. So the first of the 4 movements, actually I request everyone to kindly hear attentively to this, because it's very important. This will help us understand where we are right now within our ISKCON society, and where we need to go to actually fully please Srila Prabhupada and fully complete his mission. So the first movement, Prabhupada's own terms, he called it the Sankirtan movement, in reference to chanting the holy name and simultaneously an extension of the holy name, distributing books. These 2 things. That is part of the Sankirtan movement. Second, Prabhupada spoke of deity worship movement, installing deities, constructing temples, place of worship where people can come. Number 3, spiritual initiation movement. Spiritual initiation movement means training individuals so that they can become qualified to be part of Krishna's family through the process of Diksha, because that is the way that we become linked and connected in Parampara. And number 4, Prabhupada called it classless society movement. What does that mean? Classless society movement is a little misleading when we hear it for the first time, but it means that in our culture, Vedic culture, there are 4 natural, we call social divisions, and 4 natural spiritual divisions. And this is, of course, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. So Prabhupada calls this classless because every member who knows about Krishna, who knows about devotional service, is focused on the same objective. Means everyone is a devotee. That is called Daiva Varnasrama. Daiva Varnasrama. So in other words, Prabhupada spoke about these 4 phases. We can also call them 4 phases or 4 divisions. Sometimes we refer to them as 4 waves when we visit Hawaii. We're just coming from Hawaii, actually. They can relate to waves more easily. So, it means that actually the mission of Srila Prabhupada is contained in these 4 divisions. And Prabhupada actually mentioned many years ago that 50% of my mission is yet to be completed. And that 15% was referring to this number 4, classless society. So therefore the importance of learning to, because our Vedic culture is based on simple living, simple life which favors our high thinking, cultivation of spiritual knowledge. And of course this means what we mentioned in the very early beginning of our presentation, the connection with cows, culture of village. Village life actually means where one lives a simple life based on principles of self-sufficiency and sustainability. Where one is connected with Mother Earth and where one is connected with Mother Cow. In modern day society, most people actually have not had this connection. Most people, at least in the Western countries, in India may be different, but in the Western countries, most people are born in cities, don't have that connection with the land. I've never seen a cow, maybe on television, okay, or on a cardboard, milk box, whatever. But definitely many people never touched a cow, or to speak of milking a cow. How many here have milked cow? Milking, yes, with your hands, that machine. Okay, very good. So, very important actually to understand this dimension of Prabhupada's mission. And even if we are in the cities, there are different ways that we can introduce, we can practice in our own homes. Just like in San Jose, actually, devotees who felt very strongly about getting ahimsa milk from protected cows. This is something also that's important. See, most of our food is not wholesome food. Most of our food is grown by, first of all, non-devotees, and also using all kinds of chemicals and pesticides. So we're not eating. It is said that actually as much as 80% of the nutritional value in the food is no longer present in the food today. Like you take a tomato. So before, when tomatoes were grown naturally, you would get 100% of the value, of the nutritional value. Now you get only 20%, approximately. So it means that one may eat all kinds of food, but one is not getting so healthy. Yes?
So I had a question. So the difference between like farmers market when you buy tomato and like when it's growing and when it's kind of ripe, does the tomato like give 100% of the value or still 20%?
It's better to leave the tomatoes ripe in the garden. Yeah. There's more nutritional value. As a matter of fact, we have one devotee in, where is he? Switzerland, right? He has, right, yeah. Well, his tomatoes, everyone who tastes his tomatoes, they go crazy. I mean, they're very happy. They line up, and as a matter of fact, he cuts his tomato for those who don't buy immediately, and he gives them a small piece. So they walk away, and then all of a sudden they turn around because they're tasting original taste of tomatoes. Most of us, we have lost. Some of it probably never known what a tomato is actually supposed to taste like. Not only tomato, any other kind of food. Yeah. So because we're not living properly. We should actually be offering only food that is grown by devotees. That's something else also. It's not sufficient to just eat, let's say, or offer organic food. One may think, well, organic food, it's okay. But organic food, Krishna is more pleased when that natural food, organic food, is grown, is sown in the ground by devotees, is watered, with love and devotion, with Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then that tomato feels so happy. that tomato becomes spiritualized. It becomes prasadam before it's offered practically. So there are many things actually connected with how we should be living. And this is connected with this fourth dimension of Prabhupada's mission. We have some literature, but maybe not here. Do we? We have some literature on this, and we encourage. We have a little time for any questions from the adults, not the children. You already asked your question. You already had your turn. If no adults ask any question, you can raise your hands up.
Maharaj, you mentioned in one class that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives an explanation of Patram and Shpantram.
Yes.
Please elaborate.
Well, I just kind of mentioned that briefly, that this very well-known verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, that we should offer the Lord, water, leaf, but with love and devotion. So, in the commentary on this verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains, he's one of our acharyas, main acharyas, that this means that Krishna will be pleased. He will be especially pleased when that flower or leaf that we offer is grown by devotees. Is grown by devotees. From the very seed. It is because we all know in India, when the farmer prepares his field, there are samskaras, there are prayers, isn't it? He will worship, he will have the brahmana perform some arati, they'll offer a lamp and incense like that. Because farmers traditionally, they know that land is our mother. So land is worshipable, like cows are worshipable, because it's all coming from Krishna, isn't it? This is a nice, this is actually the standard that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining. And if we look at what we are, the way we're doing today, we are very far from that standard. And therefore, we're not getting wholesome, nutritious food. That's affecting us in so many different ways also. And we should understand the importance of coming back to those standards.
So, actually the food, it is a culture back in India, for example, Jagannath Puri.
Yes.
So none of the food is given to Lord Jagannath. It is not his land. And his pandas produce this food in it is either vegetables or the cows or
is it right?
everything comes from Jagannath doesn't eat tomato.
Right. I'm sorry I chose a wrong example.
So wait guys, you take later. So that's the so beautifully arranged and the system, so everybody should follow that path.
Okay, that's very interesting. I knew that like every day so many people from surrounding villages, they bring things, They make clay pots and they bring food also. So you're saying that actually it's supposed to be food that from land that belongs to Lord Jagannath. Is it,
Similarly, ISKCON also, all the temples should have first, when you build the deities, should have their own land where you produce and give the food.
Yeah. Actually, every ISKCON center, every ISKCON temple where we have deities should arrange to have at least one cow from whom milk can be offered to the Lord. Because actually the standard in India, again, as you all know, is that every temple has a goshala with many cows, not only one cow. Actually, there should never be only one cow. We're talking about that. There should be at least 2 cows. Because cow is very sociable. Cow doesn't like to be alone. Like we don't like to be alone also. And actual Vedic standard is that actually every family should have cow. Not only one cow, many cows. So it means that we are far, far from what the standard is meant to be. So we should make, we say, baby steps. We should begin, to approach what is meant to be the ideal. And there are different ways we can do that. For example, in Indonesia, where we have a number of temples, every month on Purnima, our devotees, we have 28 places where we have cows on different islands. They perform a go puja. Just, very simple, but this helps us to understand the importance of Mother Cow. It helps to bring back our actual original culture. And in that context, maybe we didn't mention, but we have an ongoing campaign that's called the Om Sri Surabhi campaign. Om Sri Surabhi campaign. What is it?
Om Sri Surabhi campaign.
Again?
Om Sri Surabhi campaign.
Jai.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So this is a 12-year campaign that started like 2 years ago. 2015, it will finish 2027 because it coincides with Srila Prabhupada's 12 years of preaching in the West. Prabhupada preached from 1965 to 1977. Yes. So therefore, 50 after 1965 means
2015.
50 after what? What's the question?
the question is 50 after 1965.
2015.
15.
Yes.
2015. And 50 after 1977?
2020.
2027.
2027. Yes. So the campaign will finish on November the 3rd, 2027, which is Prabhupada's disappearance actually, because that's when Prabhupada's movement, finished one particular phase. So we have a website that is dedicated for this campaign, which is basically to bring awareness, to help all of us bring back this conviction that actually we cannot live properly without having Mother Cow in our lives every day. We have tomorrow we'll be showing a video. We have a nice, let's say, our main documentary video that explains about the campaign, and so therefore we're traveling to different countries, informing devotees and also people in general how Mother Cow is central actually. It is said that if ever the day comes when there will be no more cows on this planet is finished. This planet, even now, because we are neglecting cows in so many ways, we have jeopardized. Jeopardized means we're putting in danger all the living entities and the planet itself, isn't it? Our global situation is actually very, very, we say precarious, very dangerous, very bad at present because we're neglecting some of these basic components that make up actually our very culture. So our humble request is to be attentive in reading these different purports of Srila Prabhupada's books, where in so many places he touches on some of these basic elements, basic components. One of them being that we must reconnect with these two mothers, especially Mother Bhumi, our land, and Mother Cow, Mother Surabhi. Any other last question? Yes.
Maharaj, you mentioned the kind of world you're talking about, simple living,
Yes.
high thinking. There are already some people who have understood the precarious condition of
Yes.
the planet, all the negative effects,
Yes.
greenhouse effects,
Yes.
global warming and so forth.
Yeah.
But it seems that like a major situation in the world, some kind of change is needed.
Yes.
Do you think that some kind of impending war or some catastrophe is imminent, or will be needed to really shift people's attention more toward?
Well, I can just repeat what Srila Prabhupada himself has said. And Prabhupada said that modern day civilization, modern day way of living, modern day setup, basically he said modern day civilization is a doomed civilization. Is a doomed, you know what it means? Doomed? Doom means it will be destroyed. It is destined to finish. So Prabhupada also said that modern day civilization will soon come to an end. Not my words, right? I'm just repeating what Prabhupada said. It's there, and anyone with a little sense of observation will be able to see and understand how, because we are not doing things based on sustainable systems. For example, economy. That's a big topic in itself. Economy all over the world is based on speculation. That's why, all of the different nations, beginning with the US, are in heavy debts. They all have borrowed and they're living, they're just printing money. It's not corresponding to actual wealth. So, it means that the real, as nicely described in the Bhagavatam, the real wealth is in having land, is in having animals, especially cows, having grains. Because tomorrow morning the economy crashes, your land is still going to be there. But whatever you might have in your bank balance is not going to be there, isn't it? The dollar value is always changing, fluctuating. And so Prabhupada did foretell, and anyone who can just, analyze what is taking place can easily understand that this cannot continue indefinitely. And therefore, the importance, Prabhupada said that the day will come when thousands, hundreds of thousands of people will come looking for devotees for help. Specifically, he said they will come to our farm communities, but we have very few of them. We've not developed, that's what I'm telling you, that Prabhupada said 50% of his mission is yet to be fulfilled. And that is developing self-sufficient communities. Means coming back to this, you see, the Vedic way of life, just like the Vedic knowledge, is meant to be, it is unchanging knowledge. Vedic way of life is an unchanging life based on simple principles that are the most scientific. And the standard of living, the standard of Vedic culture, we should try to understand. And most of us don't, unfortunately. That standard is agrarian standard. Agrarian life is the norm, is meant to be the norm for the vast majority of people. And only a small minority of people are meant to live in cities. Cities are generally for the Kshatriyas and people who are assisting in different ways, the Kshatriyas. The problem today is that everyone wants to become or thinks that he is becoming or has become a Kshatriya. Because Kshatriya, if you go to Cambodia, people ask, there's only buildings such as Angkor Wat, right? The ancient temples that are there, because traditionally it's like the majority of people lived in very more simple residence, especially like in Asian countries. Of course, in America we can't live the same way as in Asian countries, but it means that big buildings and monuments are generally meant for either the Lord or those who are like Kshatriyas. Yeah, they would have palaces and whatnot, because by nature, by definition, a Kshatriya is like having power, having all kinds of wealth, etc. And he needs to have power, needs to have wealth, because he has to look after a whole kingdom, isn't it? But ordinary people, the majority of people, they just, if they are properly taught that the goal of life is not simply to accumulate material things, but actually to become self-realized. So we've missed that point in modern day society, and therefore we are living a very dangerous life right now. Very dangerous. Very. We're gambling. It's one of the 4 things we're not supposed to do, right? We're gambling in many ways. Yeah.
No.
After we finish, you can ask me all kinds of questions. One last question. Back there. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. It was very inspiring to hear from you.
You were listening. You were. Okay, go ahead, yes.
Actually, this is something, a field where we can inspire so many people who are not even interested in Krishna consciousness. So that is really encouraging, and it shows the scope of expansion of our movement. And
yes.
So I wanted to ask Maharaj, we have so many fears and thinking that, oh, what will happen to my financial security, this, that, if I get into agrarian kind of a lifestyle.
Right.
So what is the practical approach one can start with, at least step by step? Say we are earning money here,
Yes.
we are getting decent amount of salaries.
Right.
How can we invest? Can we buy lands in India or in the US itself, in some countryside? And how can we take practical steps?
Yeah, well, there are many things that can be done. For example, we have a few dedicated websites where there's various information. We should cultivate this knowledge of what it actually means. We should try to get in contact with people who are involved in one way or another. People, for example, who are living in villages, or people who are having rural projects. One can, a number of our devotees help in different ways by supporting cows or adopting a cow, for example. We encourage, like in India, in our ministry, we encourage groups of people, groups of devotees to form what is called a Varnashram research team. It's a little bit along the same line as Bhakti Vriksha, but it has this dimension in terms of how we should be living, let's say, materially. So they're simply by coming in contact and associating with people who have already been doing a number of things. Practical things, for example, you can start to introduce more natural products, for example, soaps and shampoos that are made from Panchagavya, as opposed to so many, practically all the commercial items that we purchase from the market are contaminated in so many different ways, One can maybe start, there's more and more what is called community gardens that are there. There's really a long list of different things that one can do. Best is to be in contact with individuals, with devotees who have themselves started the process, so to speak. And like every temple, Prabhupada mentioned many years ago, every single temple that we have should have a farm community within a 50-kilometer radius, where one is keeping cows, where people from the city can go on weekends occasionally and see for themselves what it is like and spend weekends there possibly, and where we can grow natural, wholesome food that we can offer to our deities. Prabhupada wanted this kind of exchange between village and city. So we have a number of farm communities here in North America. I was just recently visiting, for example, New Vrindavan, in West Virginia. We have different communities. One can be in contact with them and just follow up. We have to educate ourselves slowly, gradually. Read some of these books that explain further. Contact with devotees who are involved in some of these activities, and then, simply having the desire is a very good beginning, because when one has a desire, then Krishna, who understands, because he's within our hearts, he'll give you the good intelligence how to proceed also. Yeah? Very last question now.
It's not a question, but I wanted to say
Or comment.
Comment. At Laguna Beach Temple, we have our own farm where the milk comes, and it's all for the deities, and all the sweets are for the deities, and everything is from the cruelty-free milk.
Yeah.
And even the shop and all the vegetables.
Yes,
From
Escondido.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I was there actually. Yeah, so that's one example, That's one example. You guys, put your hand up. We don't want to discourage anyone from being inquisitive, especially young souls. But we're going to finish in a few minutes, and then you can ask your questions. But yes, this is one example, which is not far away, and so like this, different in every community actually. You're going to find. Okay, this is our website. Actually, it's called the Om Sri Surabhi campaign website. And there's all kinds of information that is there. We have a weekly, I'll just finish on this point, here it is. We have a weekly PowerPoint that we started 1st of January 2016, and a weekly interview. So we're reaching close to 45 such interviews, all connected with different aspects of simple living and high thinking, about cows, about organic farming, education, etc., etc. So, thank you all very much for your kind attention, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Your questions will come after. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Krishna Krishna! Krishna Krishna! Hare Hare! Hare Hare! Hare Rama! Hare Rama! Hare Rama! Hare Rama! Rama Rama! Rama Rama! Hare Hare! Hare Hare! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Gaur Premanande! Hare Krishna.
Big announcement also. Tomorrow, Maharaj is going to give a Srimad Bhagavatam class on idle Grihastha life at 8 a.m. So I think you can come without your children. You don't want to bother kids and their
Now.
so they can, or you can bring kids, no problem.
That's when the kids have a special class.
Then it sends out in ISKCON general. I don't know whoever is there.
If you don't know, you can ask Balimantan Prabhu, you can give the address.
Yeah, it should be there ISKCON general.
He won't be able to pick you up.
Make sure that you RSVP.
We'll just quickly do Narshinga prayers and then go for Prasadam.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Hiranyakashipu जय श्री भगवान की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की गौर प्रेमानंदे जय महाप्रसाद की
Hare Krishna, there will be a literature, Maharaj books. We have So just give me 1 second before we go to Prashadam. There's multiple literatures which Maharaj wrote. Whatever today we heard the class, you can associate with these books later. So as you know, I'm also a book distributor. You can come and see me later. But all the books, which is very nicely and Maharaj can sign by author, you can see the village life and make Vrindavan villages. It's a very good book. Where is Swapnil Prabhu? You asked what is the practical implementation. There are 6 villages in Indonesia where Maharaj developed there. So the practical step-by-step guide in this book. It's a small book but very good book. So you can please come and see me outside and Maharaj can personally sign. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Mahaprasadi Govinde,
Mahaprasadi Govinde,
Nambrahmane Vaishnave,
Namabrahmane Vaishnave,
Sarvapunyapatam Rajan,
Sarvapunyapatam Rajan,
Vishwasnaiva Jayate,
Vishwasnaiva Jayate,
Sharira Vidyaja,
Sharira Vidyaja,
Jyotendriya Tahikam,
Jyotendriya Tahikam,
Jive Fele Vishay Sagare,
Jive Fele Vishay Sagare,
Haramadde Jivahasi,
Haramadde Jivahasi,
Lobhamaya Sudurmati,
Lobhamaya Sudurmati,
Age Jeta Krishna Samsare,
Age Jeta Krishna Samsare,